An Italian champion, UEFA Super Cup winner, UEFA Cup winner, 4-time Italian Cup winner, 3-time Portuguese champion, a Swedish champion. Just a glimpse of what Sven-Göran Eriksson achieved in his legendary career. Sadly, we lost him in August 2024 after a tough battle with cancer. In this video, we're taking a heartfelt journey back through his incredible football story, starting from the very beginning. Sven-Göran Eriksson, or Svennis as he's known back home in Sweden, was born on 5th February 1948. Now, the nickname Svennis actually came about because his younger brother Lars-Erik couldn't quite get his name right. Young Sven made his first appearance on the football pitch with Torsby, a Division 4 team, when he was just 16. But he wasn't sticking around forever. After moving to Säffle to study economics, he switched over to SK Säffle. Fast forward to 1972, and he's joined KB Karlskoga in Division 2. By day, he's teaching PE in Örebro, and by night, he's chasing football dreams. Now there was this bloke, Tord Grip, at Karlskoga. He was the player manager and a big influence on Svennis. Grip was all about that English style of play, something Bob Houghton and Roy Hodgson had brought over to Sweden. That really rubbed off on young Sven. But as much as he loved the game, by 1975, at just 27, he hung up his boots. The dream of going pro just wasn't meant to be. Sven's journey in football kicked off as an assistant to his mate, Tord Grip. Now Tord got the nod to manage the Sweden national team, which meant Sven got his chance to take the reins at Degerfors. It was here that his rise truly began. Under his watch, the club made it to the playoffs in both 77 and 78, with Sven clinching promotion to Sweden's Division 2 in the latter year. So here's where things start getting interesting for Svennis. After making some waves with his assistant, Tom Chadney, they caught the eye of bigger clubs, and on 1st January 1979, Svennis took the reins at IFK Göteborg. Now this move was so out of the blue that half the players were like, "Sven who?" Despite the surprise, Svennis got to work. First season in, and IFK finishes second in the Allsvenskan and snags the Svenska Cupen for the first time ever, thrashing Åtvidaberg 6-1 in the final. But here's the thing, Svennis wasn't winning any popularity contests with his style of play. He wasn't about flair, he was all business, focusing on tactical discipline and graft, toning down the team's swashbuckling ways. It worked, but it didn't win him many fans. Attendance dipped by 3,000, dropping to 13,320 on average. Like his old mentor Tord Grip, Svennis was a disciple of the Houghton-Hodgson school of thought, rolling out that solid 4-4-2 with zonal marking and relentless pressing. IFK finished third in 1980 and second again in 1981. But then 1982 rolled around, and that's when things really kicked off. Svennis led IFK to a treble, winning the league, the playoffs, and the Svenska Cupen, edging out Östers IF 3-2 in the final. But the real magic happened in the spring of 1982. IFK made history by becoming the first Swedish club to lift the UEFA Cup. They knocked out Valencia in the quarters, edged past Kaiserslautern in the semis, and then faced Hamburger SV in the final. First leg at home, they nicked a late goal to win 1-0. Then, in Hamburg, they pulled off an absolute masterclass, winning 3-0 and taking the UEFA Cup with a 4-0 aggregate. This wasn't just big news in Sweden. No, it put Sven on the map across Europe. Suddenly, some of the continent's biggest clubs were eyeing him up. Before long, he was packing his bags for Portugal to take charge of Benfica at the end of June. And boy, did he hit the ground running. Under his watch, Benfica bagged the Primeira Divisão title, lifted the Taça de Portugal, and came heartbreakingly close in the 1982-1983 UEFA Cup, finishing runners-up to Anderlecht. Not bad for his first season, right? After winning another league title, Svennis decided it was time for a new adventure and headed to Italy, taking over at Roma on 1st July 1984. Now things didn't click as quickly for him in Rome as they had in Portugal, but he still managed to add a Coppa Italia to his trophy cabinet in 1986. By 6th May 1987, it was time to move on, and he swapped the Eternal City for Florence, becoming Fiorentina's manager on 1st July 1987. Fiorentina was a bit of a tough gig, though. No silverware to show for his efforts there. So in 1989, Svennis found himself back at Benfica for a second stint. This time, he led them to the final of the 1989-90 European Cup, only to be edged out by Milan 1-0. But he didn't leave empty-handed, securing another Primera División title in 1991. In 1997, he was on the brink of bringing his talents to the Premier League with Blackburn Rovers. He'd even given his word to join them at Ewood Park. But then came a call from Lazio, and just like that, Sven's heart was pulled back to Italy. The allure of Italian football was simply irresistible for him. And what a move it turned out to be. Sven led Lazio to glory, winning the European Cup Winners' Cup, and then, in 2000, he guided them to their second ever Serie A title. The Swede was at the very peak of his coaching career, earning admiration from all corners of Europe for his knack of squeezing every last drop of potential from his squads. When Kevin Keegan threw in the towel after that crushing loss to Germany in October 2000, the England FA didn't waste much time. They went straight for Sven. Sven was a name that echoed through every pub, living room and office across the UK. He wasn't just England's first non-English manager, he was a bit of a legend in his own right. You didn't need to be a footy fanatic to know who Sven was. The bloke was a household name, plain and simple. When he got the job in 2000, the FA was over the moon, calling him one of the top gaffers in world football. It wasn't just a decision, they were convinced he was the man to lead England to glory. And let's be honest, the whole country was buzzing. But blimey, his time in charge was anything but smooth sailing. His debut was on the 28th of February 2001, a friendly against Spain at Villa Park, where England cruised to a 3-0 win. But the real fireworks happened on 1st September 2001, when Svennis' England went to Munich and smashed Germany 5-1. That was a statement win. Germany had only ever lost one home game in World Cup qualifiers before, and they were ahead after just 6 minutes. Then, on the 6th of October, David Beckham whipped in a last-gasp free kick to earn a 2-2 draw with Greece at Old Trafford, booking England's spot at the 2002 World Cup, avoiding a tricky playoff against Ukraine. At the World Cup, England had a mixed bag in the group stage, drawing with Sweden, beating Argentina 1-0, and drawing with Nigeria to sneak through in second place. In the round of 16, they comfortably saw off Denmark 3-0, but then came Brazil in the quarter-finals. England took the lead, but Brazil, down to 10 men, came back to win 2-1, and they went on to lift the trophy. Fast forward to the next qualifiers, England got off to a good start with a win in Slovakia, but then stumbled, drawing at home to Macedonia and getting booed off after a friendly loss to Australia. But Svennis steadied the ship, and England won their next 5 qualifiers. They needed just a point from their final game to qualify, and did the job with a 0-0 draw in Turkey, topping the group. At the Euros, England started strong, leading France 1-0 after 90 minutes in their first match, but Zinedine Zidane turned it around with 2 injury-time goals. Still, they bounced back with a 3-0 win over Switzerland and a 4-2 victory against Croatia, setting up a quarter-final clash with hosts Portugal. Michael Owen gave England an early lead, but Helder Postiga levelled it up. Then there was the infamous Sol Campbell goal that got disallowed, and it all ended in heartbreak with a penalty shootout loss. In March 2004, Svennis extended his contract by 2 years, set to cover UEFA Euro 2008. He admitted he would have preferred to wait until after Euro 2004 to sign, but with all the rumours swirling about him, possibly heading to Chelsea, he reckoned it was the right move. The FA stayed tight-lipped on whether the contract had a clause letting him walk after the 2006 World Cup. But the speculation didn't stop there. But of course, Sven couldn't dodge the off-field drama for long. His on and off relationship with lawyer Nancy Dell'Olio made them a prime target for the paparazzi. And then there were his affairs, first with Ulrika Jonsson and then with Faria Alam. The tabloids had an absolute field day, lapping it all up. For the FA, though, things took a more serious turn. Alam wasn't just any fling. She was an FA employee, which ramped up the pressure on Sven. It all started to come to a head after England's shock defeat to Northern Ireland in September 2005. And then came the bombshell, the fake chic sting by the News of the World. Sven got caught on tape, saying he was ready to leave England and take over at Aston Villa after the 2006 World Cup. He wasn't going to take it lying down, though. He ended up suing the paper and later got caught up in the whole phone hacking scandal that came out during the Leveson inquiry into press ethics. Just another chapter in the roller coaster that was Sven's time in England. On 23 January, the FA announced that Svennis would be leaving after the World Cup, with many believing the scandal played a big part in that decision. Despite all the criticism, Svennis did leave his mark. He took England from 17th in the FIFA rankings in January 2001 to 5th by July 2006, even reaching 4th during the World Cup. The FA rated him as England's second most successful manager after Alf Ramsey. Under his watch, England lost just 3 competitive games, excluding extra time, and he led them to the top qualifying spot in all 3 international tournaments. In July 2006, after his final game with England, ESPN reported that Svennis had turned down offers to manage Jamaica and a mystery club in the UEFA Champions League. By October, there were whispers about him possibly managing Newcastle United, though his agent quickly denied it. On 6th July 2007, almost a year to the day after leaving the England job, Svennis was back in the game, taking the reins at Manchester City. He signed a 3-year deal worth a tidy £2 million a year, plus bonuses. Svennis was making history again, becoming City's first manager from outside the UK and the first ever Swedish manager in the Premier League. Before the season kicked off, he wasted no time in bringing in fresh faces. Striker Rolando Bianchi, midfielders Gelson Fernandez, Giovanni, Martin Petrov, and Elano, plus defenders Vedran Chorluka and Javier Garrido all joined the ranks. Then came 19th August, and City pulled off a stunner, beating reigning Premier League champs Manchester United to go top of the table after 3 games without conceding a single goal. Svennis even bagged the Premier League Manager of the Month award for August. City kept their momentum, hanging around the top 6 for the rest of 2007. At one point, they were sitting pretty in 3rd throughout October and November, but by 12th January 2008, they slipped to 7th after a rough patch where they only managed 1 win in 5 games. By spring, things started to unravel. Owner Thaksin Shinawatra wasn't impressed with the avalanche of very poor results, as he put it, and made it clear he was planning to replace Svennis after just 1 season. The final nail in the coffin was a brutal 8-1 drubbing by Middlesbrough on the last day of the season, the heaviest defeat of Svennis's career. Despite the ups and downs, City finished 9th in the league, just 1 spot shy of a UEFA Cup place. But they still snuck into Europe thanks to the UEFA Fair Play League, nabbing an extra spot awarded to the Premier League. Svennis did have some bragging rights, though. He became the first City manager since the 1969-1970 season to do the double over United, and he also matched the club's then highest Premier League points tally, racking up 55. But it wasn't enough to keep him in the job. On 2nd June 2008, City announced that they and Svennis had parted ways by mutual consent, even though he still had 2 years left on his contract. Svennis took on a new challenge on 3rd June 2008, officially signing up as the manager of the Mexico national team. He was all set to take charge right after Mexico's World Cup qualifier against Belize on the 21st of June. His first outing as Mexico's boss came on the 20th of August 2008 in a CONCACAF World Cup qualifier against Honduras, where he got off to a decent start with a 2-1 win. But things didn't stay rosy for long. The next few matches saw some rough results. Mexico drew with Canada and suffered losses to both Jamaica and Honduras. By 11th February 2009, the pressure was really piling on, especially after a 2-0 defeat to the United States. The Mexican fans were getting restless, calling for Svennis to quit or be shown the door. Meanwhile, back in England, there were rumours swirling that Portsmouth were eyeing him up as their new manager. The whispers grew louder when reports surfaced that members of Portsmouth's board had flown to Mexico City to chat about contract offers and possible compensation with the Mexican Football Federation. Despite all the noise, on 3rd March 2009, Svennis was adamant he wasn't going anywhere. He insisted he was staying put to help Mexico book their spot in the World Cup. But after a 3-1 loss in a crucial qualifier against Honduras, the writing was on the wall. Svennis was relieved of his duties as Mexico's national team coach. It was a tough end to his stint, with just one win in his last 7 non-friendly matches. On 22nd July 2009, Svennis took on a new role as the director of football at Notts County, a League Two side, after the club was taken over by the Middle Eastern consortium Munto Finance. Svennis later revealed that what really drew him in was the consortium's bold plan to take the world's oldest league club right to the top of the Premier League. He genuinely believed they had the money and the determination to make it happen. There was talk of big investments in new facilities, and the club even managed to sign Sol Campbell and Kasper Schmeichel from Premier League teams. But things didn't quite pan out as planned. Campbell only played 1 game before packing his bags, and Schmeichel was let go at the end of the season. By November 2009, the wheels started coming off when it was revealed that County had massive debts, including an unpaid tax bill. Then, on the 11th of February 2010, Svennis decided to step down as director of football after the club was taken over by former Lincoln City chairman Ray True. In a classy move, he waived a multi-million-pound payoff to help smooth the takeover, earning him praise. Despite all the chaos off the pitch, Notts County ended the season on a high, winning promotion as League Two champions. A bit of a roller coaster, but Svennis's touch was there, even if things didn't go exactly as planned. On 28 March 2010, Sven took on the challenge of managing the Ivory Coast national team. Fast forward to the 2010 World Cup, and things got off to a fiery start with a tough 0-0 draw against Portugal in their opening Group G match. Tensions were high, and it was a proper battle on the pitch. Just a few days later, on the 20th of June, they faced Brazil and suffered a 3-1 defeat. It was a tough blow, but the team kept their heads up. In their final group game, the Ivory Coast came out swinging, securing a solid 3-0 win against North Korea. But despite the victory, it wasn't enough to push them through to the knockout stage, leaving both the Ivory Coast and North Korea packing their bags early. It was a valiant effort, but sometimes, even with all the fight in the world, the odds just aren't in your favor. After his contract with the Ivorian Football Federation quietly expired on the 25th of June, Svennis found himself back in the English game on the 3rd of October 2010, taking the reins at Leicester City, who were stuck in the Championship relegation zone. His debut league match ended in a 1-1 draw against Hull City, with the Tigers being managed by none other than Nigel Pearson, the man who had been in charge of the Foxes for the previous 2 seasons. Svennis didn't take long to make his mark, securing his first win soon after, a solid 2-1 victory over Leeds United at Elland Road. Come December 2010, there were rumours flying around that Svennis might be heading to Blackburn Rovers after Sam Allardyce got the boot, but Svennis quickly shot them down, saying he was more than happy sticking with Leicester. Svennis started pulling in some key loan signings, like Kyle Norton and later Yakubu, which helped turn things around. Leicester's form steadily improved, and by the start of 2011, they were flying, winning 7 of their first 8 league games that year. They even gave Premier League giants Manchester City a good run for their money in the FA Cup, taking them to a replay. By the 18th of February 2011, Leicester had clawed their way up to 7th in the table, just a point shy of a playoff spot, thanks to a dramatic injury-time winner from Martin Waghorn against Bristol City. But just when it looked like they might push for promotion, their form dipped, and they only managed 2 wins in their next 11 games, eventually finishing the season in 10th. Svennis went all out in the summer of 2011, splashing the cash on players like Matt Mills and Jermaine Beckford, which made Leicester the pre-season favourites for promotion. But after just 13 league matches, things weren't looking too rosy, with Leicester sitting in 13th place, only 2 points off the relegation playoff zone. On 25 October 2011, Svennis and Leicester parted ways by mutual consent. Interestingly, 3 players Svennis brought to the club, Kasper Schmeichel, David Nugent, and Paul Konchesky, would go on to be key figures in Leicester's success a few years later. Schmeichel, in particular, played a massive role in the team that won the 2015-2016 Premier League, while Nugent credited Svennis for his turnaround in form at Leicester. So even though Svennis didn't achieve the promotion he'd hoped for, his influence was felt long after he'd left the King Power Stadium. After this stint with Leicester City, Sven went on to take on roles in China and with the Philippines national team. After managing over 1,200 matches, Sven-Göran Eriksson eventually decided it was time to slow down and spend more time in his hometown of Sunne, Sweden. He kept his hand in the game by helping out with the local third division side, Karlstad. But by the start of 2023, ill health forced him to take a step back. In January 2024, Sven-Göran Eriksson shared the heartbreaking news that he'd been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, with doctors giving him, at best, about a year to live. But even with that grim prognosis, Svennis wasn't one to sit back and let life pass him by. In March 2024, he stepped out of retirement for one final hurrah, taking charge of the Liverpool Legends in a charity match against Ajax. It was a moment of pure passion for Svennis, a lifelong Liverpool fan who'd always dreamed of managing the Reds. Sadly, on the morning of the 26th of August 2024, Svennis passed away at his home in Björkafors, near Sunne in Sweden, at the age of 76. The news of his passing sent ripples through the footballing world, with tributes pouring in from all corners, celebrating the life and legacy of a true footballing legend. Cheers for tuning in. If you liked what you just watched, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on what's next. Trust me, if you enjoyed this one, you're going to love the video playing right now. Go on, give it a click, and I'll catch you over there.